We want to thank the Fowler Elementary School students for being our greeters this evening. Thank you, Fowler kids. And the board wants to create a conversational space for the board to hear from interest with staff and on action items and to hear from the community. Therefore, we ask that the public to speak from the center microphone. You're welcome to have a seat in a chair as well if you prefer that. And we look forward to having a conversation with you as we believe we all have the best interests of our students, staff, and community in mind when we make decisions for our school district. So with that, I will call to order the regular meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education. The board did meet in closed session. No action was taken. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Vice President Clerk, Mr. Rockwell. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's always more moving when you hear those young voices coming back at you when you hear that Pledge of Allegiance, isn't it? With that, we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you, and we will now move to item 1, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes?
Yes, one change. We'd like to table item 9.1 to a future meeting.
Okay. With that change, we will move forward as the agenda was presented. And item 2, approval of minutes of the regular and special meetings of July 18th, 2024. Unless there are any corrections, they will be accepted as presented. And we move to programs and presentations. There are no programs and presentations, so we move to public hearings. And let's see. No public hearings, so we move to reports and communication. Student members report will be read by our Vice President Clerk, Mr. Rockwell.
As for Murray Middle School. Last week we went back to school. The day before school on Monday we had orientation for the 6th graders, the 7th and 8th grade WEB. I think that stands for Where Everybody Belongs. Leaders helped the 6th graders by showing them around the school and doing fun activities with them. The 6th graders were well behaved and very polite. Good job, 6th graders. The 6th graders were nervous but also excited. They had fun participating in Mr. Lamba's school chants. It was a really good orientation and lots of new students attended. There was music, we had a person filming us, and we got new pencils that shared Welcome Back Murray students. During 7th and 8th grade orientation, lots of parents showed up. Mrs. Mestis was mostly reminding the parents about the rules and expectations for students. The PTSO was there and sold lots of PE clothes. We did have several parents sign up, ask about zero period, and we're excited about starting a new year with having students involved at all levels to give feedback and input. On the first day of school, everyone went up to the office wall where it showed students their assigned advisory class. It was crowded, but there was no pushing and shoving like there usually is. During the first passing period, everyone was calm, even the 7th graders. Everyone was quiet on the first day. The 6th graders were probably nervous. The 7th and 8th graders were also quiet but energetic since they got to see their friends after the 2-month summer break. At lunchtime, the lunch line was very long, but everyone waited patiently. Although the outside was pretty crowded, everyone respected each other and kept to themselves. At the end of the day, everyone walked up to the gate with their friends ready to go home. During the week, everyone was responsible for bringing their own materials to school, and most students did. On Friday, the WEB leaders gave popsicles to all the 6th graders during lunch. During PE, everyone was motivated to play dodgeball and other activities that the PE teachers had ready for us. At the loop after school, everyone was patiently waiting and talking with their friends. The weather was so hot, the students were trying to find shade under trees. Good luck. The first week of school was really exciting and fun. We are very excited about all the new teachers, Mr. Andresen, and having a year of being involved in the vision of the campus. As we look forward, it is exciting to know that we have some field trips already being planned and getting ready for volleyball season. Go Mustangs. Monroe Middle School. The Tiger team started the school year strong with sparkly green pom-poms and clappers, a green carpet, staff in tiger ears, and the mascot high-fiving and celebrating students as we welcome them back to school the first day. The psyche stayed high through Friday's first Spirit Day name tag day. As for the JMMS calendar, cross-country started practice last week, volleyball tryouts are next week, and we're gearing up for back-to-school night next Thursday, August 22nd. The Tiger team looks forward to maintaining the momentum for a great last year. Mesquite. New students and their families participated in an orientation back on the 1st, and the year is off to a great start as the school now has a full-time position for intervention. Activities are already gearing up as the local Army recruiter has scheduled a practice ASVAB, a school-wide presentation, and is inviting 50 students to visit Fort Irwin for the day. Mesquite's back-to-school night is next week, Wednesday the 21st, where families will get to meet teachers, explore classroom routines, see the campus, and enjoy some treats. We received the exciting news that Mesquite will get to bring an entire bus of students to hear the renowned astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria speak at Saracoso Community College in September. While the first 3-week credit check cycle is coming up fast, it will allow students to see their previous transcript status and early indicators of their progress. The first cycle ends next week on Friday, so students will review the following week. Go Dragons, show them how to soar. And Burroughs High School. The Burroughs are back for the 24-25 school year. After a great summer vacation for our students, we have a few things to report. Our Link crew held freshman orientation on August 5th with amazing participation. Link leaders from different grade levels showed freshmen the school as well as prepared them with tips and tricks for their high school careers. Our first day of school went just as great. Students received schedules, temporary IDs, and lockers. Students were ready to get back to learning and meet their new teachers. Football held their green and white scrimmage on August 9th. Players from all levels competed, showing off their skills and talent after a long summer of work. Afterward, ASB held the annual kickback, where all students were able to play yard games and have a fun time with their peers and friends. Our first Spirit Day of the year, Aloha My Name Is, was also on the 9th. Students wore Hawaiian shirts and name tags. There was great participation all around. All class assemblies started on the 9th and continued through the 13th. All classes were given a reminder of school rules as well as their ASB representation. Picture Day started today and continues into tomorrow. Volleyball opened their season earlier this week with a game on the 13th. They had another game tonight. Go Volleyball. Coming up, we have back to school night on the 21st and football games against Tehachapi on the 22nd for JV and 23rd for varsity. And that concludes the student members' report.
Thank you, Kurt. Next, that brings us to reports from members of the board. Any board members have anything they'd like to report? All right. Kurt?
Tempted to talk about the cell phone
Robert?
stuff we discussed the other day. I know.
Did you? No, you're good? Well, while you're thinking about that, Kurt, I just wanted to share that it was exciting to start up school again, and I had the opportunity to participate in the Capturing Kids' Hearts training for our new employees, and then, of course, to also, at the all-hands meeting, observe the Mark Perna presentation. I just really am impressed with a couple of things that I think will have a long-term effect in our district, and that is the principles and the concepts and the practices that we can begin to use to really build relationships with our students for success. And then the concepts, some of the concepts that Mr. Perna shared with us, how they network and tie into what we're doing with Portrait of a Graduate. I just think all those things are going to be very positive and help us move forward as a district in meeting the needs of our kids in a very powerful way. So it was to me, it was a very encouraging time and some encouraging things to see the people laying hold of those concepts and finding how they can work well with them to meet kids' needs. So, did you?
Yeah, I decided I would.
Okay.
And to pile on to what Mr. Ferris was saying, for those of you in the audience who didn't get a chance to be a part of either of the sessions with Mark Perna, If you're interested in looking him up, it's Mark C. Perna, P-E-R-N-A, and he's got podcasts and all kinds of goodies online that, great guy to kind of hear his perspective on life and generations of people and all kinds of things. He's a phenomenal guy. The other thing, I guess I thought I would just bring it up so that people know it's a conversation that's going on around the state and the country. But we did have every month we have our Section 12 of the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly. We meet every month and we get briefed by somebody in the CSBA organization on some topic, and we had our legislative liaison, one of them, speak to us yesterday about kind of a timely topic, which is cell phone bans. And you know, the interesting thing for me in the conversation is that there are, you know, people out there that are 100% in favor of cell phone bans, and there are people out there that are 100% not in favor of cell phone bans. And I don't, at this point in time, sitting up here tonight, I don't really care what side people are on, but the governor came out with not a mandate, but an encouragement for all school boards to implement some kind of cell phone ban. And while we appreciate his encouragement, we are also very motivated to make sure that that's where it stays. You know, in California, we love to legislate. We love to make new laws for new things. And, you know, I personally have a concern that our guys in Sacramento looking for something to do might decide we need a law that actually says thou shalt do a cell phone ban. And well, I'll say that. I'm pretty sure we're all in agreement that we don't want that. We don't want Sacramento telling us here in Ridgecrest, Indian Wells Valley, Inyo Kern, what to do with regard to a cell phone ban. We want to make our own decision based on our community, based on, you know, what we believe we need. And so I'm throwing it out there more as just awareness for the community that if you have an opportunity to talk to anybody that's making any decisions in Sacramento, tell them we appreciate their thoughts, but we'd really like to make our own decisions. And then as the conversation goes and people in our community express their thoughts on whether we ought to be doing a cell phone ban or not in our schools, we are thrilled to get input on that topic, but we want to be able to make our own decision. So anyway, it was a very lively discussion in our meeting yesterday, and I just wanted to bring that up. So thank you.
Just to add
Go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, as a former teacher, I believe there's a time and place for the phones, and if teachers have a policy, whatever they're doing in their classroom at the time, you know, the respect needs to come back, and, you know, okay, Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so or Dr. whoever, you know, put it away for now, put it away for today or whatever, and the respect needs to come back so the teaching can be done in the classroom without interruptions. So,
Thank you.
I mean, I don't think a ban, but I think there should be policies or expectations or whatever the teacher has in mind that day. So,
And I think it's important to recognize that there are certainly a lot of concerns about the effects of social media and telephones in the classroom. And I think the important distinction here, and I think Kurt brought it out, is that we believe that our own local community should be able to look at and solve that problem with what is best for this community. And what Kurt didn't mention is there is actually already legislation forming specifically that will say this is what you will do. And our concern is it could be they come up with the absolute best plan for our district, but it could be they don't. And what's going to be important And we all know that LA Unified is already beginning a ban. And I think we would be wise to watch and learn, to see what works well, what doesn't work, what concerns of parents are, what concerns of students are, what concerns of teachers are, and then figure out for our own district what we can do to get the best opportunity in our classrooms for our kids. And I truly believe that our organization is the best place to do that, not someone in Sacramento who's looking at the entire state saying, well, this has got to be the best for everybody. So I think that's the nature of the discussion that you were speaking of specifically, and I believe we want to, as in the many things that we have to address, we want to address that head on, and we want to provide the best opportunity for our kids, and I think we can do that. So. Robert.
You know, it made me think of a couple of things. I was reading the CSBA announcements that comes out, and it's kind of amazing all the different things that the governor is planning on doing January 1st. I won't go into specifics, but I think, you know, I've had a lot of thought about cell phones, and I mean, there's so many good things about a cell phone, and there's so many things that create problems. I mean, when I was in school, you know, when I was teaching and working with the administration, 80% of their problems dealt with, you know, social media, which is frustrating, and I get that. But I think whatever ends up happening, I think the teachers have so much that they have to do, and to make them have to. Did that person have a cell phone? Does that person cell phone? You know, it's either got to be they're not there or they're there, because when they're there, there's always ways that they hide it and they get on it, and then the teacher can't teach because they have to deal with disciplining the cell phone, and it's so frustrating. I remember when I was subbing, and it's a whole different world when you sub than when you've been in education for 25 years and you've built up a reputation with the kids and you don't have as many problems. But when I was a sub, they didn't know me from boo. And I tell you what, after 3 days of that in a row, I was about ready to strangle myself on those cell phones, because they always have different ways of hiding them. And I just don't want, whatever happens, I just don't want the teachers to have another thing that they have to deal with on a daily basis, even though they're dealing with it now, probably. So that's just my thought. Oh, and one other thing. It's hot. I got to find out, who's ever on this calendar committee, can you guys figure out a way that we don't go any earlier? Because it seems like every year it gets earlier and earlier. And man, I tell you what, PE in August is not a good thing. And I don't know what the kids are doing, but
I thought you didn't have anything to say.
yeah, I'm done.
I'm just kidding. You're welcome to say whatever you'd like to say, sir. Okay, but I think what was presented there is clearly that this is not just a cut and dry circumstance. There's a lot to be considered, and so however this is addressed, it needs to be done thoughtfully and inclusively and with the best interest of what we provide to our students at the forefront. So thank you all for that input, and we will move to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Ferris, and thank you again to Fowler students for that wonderful greeting at the door, part of our Capturing Kids' Hearts in Action at the board meetings, as we try to model our Capturing Kids' Hearts processes throughout our organization. The new school year, as has been mentioned, is off to a great start. We have approximately 5,037 students enrolled, and schools are actively contacting families to ensure students are attending each day. Attendance is going to be a focus for us this year because we would like to make sure each student is in school each day ready to learn. We welcome staff back with 44 new teachers attending orientation activities, and as was mentioned, Capturing Kids' Hearts training, Mark Perna kickoff at the all hands meeting, challenging us to connect with our students and each other between all of those trainings, building connections and relevant learning for all of our students. We've also had significant community support with many donations to support our students in classrooms, some of which we have highlighted later in tonight's agenda. And it truly does take a community to raise and educate our students, and the Sierra Sands Greater Ridgecrest community shows up, and we really appreciate that. This morning, several staff members and I met with the deputy from the Office of the Secretary of Defense, who is here in Ridgecrest today with her team. And it was a powerful meeting discussing how we can partner together in continuing to serve our military families. And we had several great resources identified and partnership opportunities come out of that conversation. And appreciate the staff who attended with us, and Jesse Vasquez, our school liaison officer, who's here in the audience, who put that meeting together and got us all in the same room. So that was a great opportunity to continue that partnership. And I'm looking forward to attending more back-to-school nights next week. We had several already this week. I really thank our staff across the district for their efforts in welcoming and engaging our students and their families. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the report to the Board of Trustees of the Desert Area Teachers Association. Ms. Poole. Oh, over here, please. Play it off like it was an intentional, and you'll be great.
I thought it was a protest.
You're back to school, you have to be retrained, right?
God, it's really, someone needs to remind me because it really affects what I wear. Okay, so we're back at school, in case nobody knew. I was giddy all day because we had auditions yesterday and the day before. So I was there till 6 o'clock, and all day today I'm like, yes, I get to go home. And then I was driving home, and all of a sudden I went, oh, the board meeting's tonight, yay. And I like coming. It was just like kind of a surprise. And then next week our rehearsals begin. But I do want to say, lest anybody doubt it, we have super talented kids, and trying to cast everybody is really tricky. If you want to swing by my living room later and help me, it'll be great. So I'll spread out on the floor. This is a pretty exciting year for data. So we got our, I think it's on the agenda, we got release time for the president so I can do the site visits. And I've had so many, I've only done a few so far. It looks like about every 3 weeks because boroughs I don't have to schedule quite the same way because I can just walk on over whenever I need to. But it'd be like every 3 weeks I'll be able to get to each of the sites. And I've already had teachers saying, you know, this is great, this is great. And I honestly think that it really helps all of us, because my being there, I'm able to hear not, sometimes we fall into that trap of I'm just contacting you because something is wrong. And so this way I can really hear people talking, and there's a lot that teachers don't complain about that we like. And so I'm really excited, and I'm very grateful for how easy it was to get everything set up, working with Dr. Moore and Mr. Ald. So it's terrific. So here we go. 2 things. One, I end up writing the calendar. Yeah. So listen, I have a plan, and I'm ready to write it up right now, and we can all sign off on it. We'll just take some time off and restart in late next month. And we'll still end in May. And our checks will be the same. It's very tricky doing the calendar because we end with the semester. The semester for the high school ends and we go off on break, and it's just the best way to do it. And so to get that done, if we didn't end till January, then we could start a little bit later. But I hear a lot of complaints, so I'm a little sensitive.
And warm.
My classroom is really cold. So I have no complaints. However, there are some issues with classrooms being hot in the high 70s, and that may not sound bad, but when you got all those little people in there, and when you're up teaching, no matter what, like you're moving and you're getting hot, and so we just started letting y'all know about the heat in the classroom. So hopefully we can get all that worked out. But keep in mind, we can come back in October if you like. Okay, and then also I just wanted to point out that the whole cell phone thing, which I certainly won't get into. I left it at my seat. I'm a little nervous, just for lacking it. It is a really hot topic. It's a really big deal, right? And you can get evidence on both sides. But what I found interesting is it was brought up, and there was a lot about what the community wants, and it wasn't until Ms. Campbell spoke that teachers came up, right? And certainly we want to know what families think, but the teachers who are there every day, and I found it really interesting because I get that you are saying you don't want the state telling you what to do, and then I just want to welcome you to my world where we are frequently being told by people who are not in the classroom every day to do this and to do that, and there are teachers. I'm a teacher who often I say, okay, pull out your phones and check this. Oh, you don't have your textbook? Take a picture of your friends, you've got it, right? And there are times like, get that phone away, they don't come out. And so we all make our decisions, and it's based on what we're teaching, when we're teaching, who we're teaching. So I think that's great that you want to make sure that it's, tailored to us. But also when you're saying that, like maybe take cell phone policy being tailored to us and consulting the teachers, and I can just give you a few other words where you could say, like, take this policy and maybe tailor it to us and find out from the teachers how it is. So that would, I do appreciate that you want to get input, but let's make sure you get some input from. Okay. Us feeling very left out. Okay. I mean, I usually think of community and then teachers, but thank you. Thank you for that. So that's, oh my goodness, that's, look, I'm going to take the binder when I walk away. I'm just telling you now, I'm not intentionally, but it's going to happen. So anyway, hey, thanks for doing this. I'll see you next month.
Welcome back. Thank you. That brings us to report to the Board of Trustees of the California School Employees Association. Ms. Panis.
Hello, School Board President, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Moore, staff, and community. Welcome back to another school year. Last Friday, I held a welcome back dessert bar for CSE members, and we held our first chapter meeting on Monday. At both, we discussed several topics that are weighing heavy on our classified staff. One of the biggest concerns is obviously the pay increase and bonus that Dr. Moore received. Lots of people spoke at the July board meeting in regards to and were against it and feel that their concerns or voices do not matter. Then they were upset even more when it was passed. It was stated at the board meeting that the board was looking at keeping up with competitive pay for superintendents in comparable districts. But then that brings up questions and concerns. Why don't we have comparable pay for our classified staff? We have fast food workers making more than a lot of our classified staff. We spent so much money last year on contracting out positions instead of putting money onto our pay scale. What is it going to take for the classified staff to get competitive pay? At the July meeting, one of our custodians spoke out and brought up his 2% off-scale payment that we got over the summer. It was about $455-ish. We could pay roughly 48 classified staff that amount if we divided up Dr. Moore's bonus. Minimum wage used to be a livable wage, but now it is not. The cost of milk, bread, or cereal is the same if you make $16 an hour or $27 an hour. It is not okay that full-time 8-hour employees have to work more than one job to make ends meet. We are still in negotiations, and all I can say is that work needs to be done with our pay scale, or we're going to continue to lose people and not be able to hire new ones due to the low pay. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6, communications from the public. And the board will provide time during the discussion of each agenda item for members of the public to comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on items that are not on the agenda. Comments should relate to items of public interest within the board's jurisdiction, and the law prohibits the board from taking action on items that are not on the agenda. But if appropriate, your comments will be referred to staff for response. When addressing the board, please state your name and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. In accordance with the board bylaws, the board will limit the total time of the public input to 30 minutes. Those wishing to address the board beyond that 30-minute time limit may do so at the end of the scheduled meeting agenda. If you'd like to speak, please come up to the middle microphone. Thank you.
Hi, Kathy McCoy, Vice President of Data and teacher at Pierce. I was really happy to hear you say we don't want the state of California to all be following the same policies because we don't all do the same things, because I understand with our temperature policy set at 74, that is because that is California's state policy and we're following that. But they don't all live in the Mojave Desert in August. So we noticed that the temperature suddenly got changed to 74, although not in all of the rooms. Mine went from 74, locked at 74 Friday, to 72 Monday, to 74 Wednesday, or Tuesday, and back to 72 yesterday and today. So I never know what to wear because it just makes so much difference. Our thermostats, at least at Pierce, happen to be around the pod, the inner wall, with the vent blowing the air right over it. And there's a significant difference between the temperature there and by the outer wall. And then as a teacher, we don't sit, we are constantly moving. So that makes a big difference too. And then when you have kids coming in from recess who are pretty hot, that it just makes the temperature go up so much. But we have such a variety. I asked people to just let me know what their rooms are. And there was quite a difference. Set to 74, actually 77. Set to 72, actually 75. Set to 71, actually 75. Set to 74, how come some of you have 72? I miss 72, still 75. I asked again today, my room is now 75, my room is 76. Set at 72, but is 76. Set at 74 is 77. Set at 73, 74 in class. So not only is there kind of a wide variety in what everyone's room is set at and registering, we, at least during August and September when it's so hot, are making a plea that we please go back to that 72 that we really appreciated, because it's really hard. The kids are hot, then they're tired. So we're just asking 72 for at least those 2 hot months, and then 74 all you want, but please 72 for August and September. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to address the board at this time?
Hello, my name is Denise Brown. I'm a parent of 2 elementary age students attending Gateway. On August 6th, the first day of school, I found my daughter's 4th grade class to consist of 37 students. Since that day, I have been on an information quest trying to find our district and state policies legally regarding the amount of students a class should hold. It has led me to multiple state education codes, the State Board of Education Policy 14-02, the CTA, and multiple conversations with educators, parents, and people in our local community. The current Teachers Union contract states the goal of students per teacher is 28 or less for 4th through 8th grade. The max is 32. I was informed that most of the schools in our district have had classes of 35 students minimum for quite some time. I understand at the state level, we can incur financial penalties stated in the state code of regulations. I asked on SSUSD's Facebook page what is being done. I was informed you are actively balancing classes and reviewing options. This is great. It was also stated that your policies indicate movement between schools takes place after the first 2 weeks, and you all are trying to avoid overcrowding as much as possible. This is good. In the teacher contract Article 8, it precisely states that the allowance of class size exceeding the maximum of 32 students for the first 3 weeks of school is acceptable. In fact, further into the article, it states the teachers are allotted compensation and pay for students they have over the max. This sounds fair, right? In actuality, this is a strain on teachers and students alike. Imagine preparing for a class of 32 students max, only to be told days before school start, you have closer to 40. Of course, it is doable because educators are amazing. However, this should not be taken advantage of. Taking in mind classroom dynamics. In the first 2 weeks of school, students are readjusting to being in class and learning from a new teacher. Classroom dynamics between teacher and student are being built. If and when you relocate students to balance the class sizes, this ultimately disrupts the flow of their education. It's even more intense for neurodivergent children. As of now, I hope you are all able to effectively mitigate the potential consequences of the increased class sizes for the sake of our educators and students. I am strongly requesting an update to the community be added to the agenda at the next meeting. This should include the discretion on class size, action being taken, the educational code pertaining to our overflow, the teacher's contract, and the standing of the LCFF funds being used to reduce class sizes. Hopefully, it is copacetic with the district's goals and actions in its LCAP. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board at this time? If not, we will move to Educational Administration, 6.1, a report update on the 23-24 California School Dashboard Local Indicators. Priority 1, Basic Services and Conditions, 2022-23, Teaching Assignment Monitoring Outcomes. Dr. Savko.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Moore, staff, and community. The California School Dashboard reports performance and progress on both state and local indicators based on the 8 state priorities. The required local indicator report was presented to the Sierra Sands Board on June 20th in conjunction with the adoption of the Local Control Accountability Plan. However, Priority 1, data 2022-23 Teaching Assignment Monitoring Outcomes, or TAMO, by full-time equivalency were unavailable during the LEA local indicator reporting window. So as a result of the release of the 2022-23 TAMO data on DataQuest, all LEAs in the state of California must report the 2022-23 TAMO data at a board meeting. The California Department of Education will report this data for each LEA on the 2024 California School Dashboard as part of the Priority 1 local indicator. The recommendation is that you accept the report as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members on the report?
This is not an action item, this is information.
Okay. We will accept the report, and we'll take a vote to accept the report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Moves to item 2, approval of contract with eTherapy Intermediate Incorporated. Mr. Delbeck, thank you.
President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Moore, and community and peers. It's approval for a contract with eTherapies. School districts are required to assess students who have been referred for special education services in all areas related to the suspected disabilities. These assessments must be administered by trained and knowledgeable personnel. Currently, there are a critical shortage of special education teachers and related service personnel, including critical shortages of of speech and language pathologists that exist in all regions of the country. To accommodate the speech needs of our students, the district would like to contract with eTherapy to provide telespeech therapy services for the district by 3 speech and language pathologists for the 24-25 school year. The estimated cost of the speech therapy service will not exceed $400,481.25 for 3 speech and language pathologists and will be funded through the SELPA budget. It is recommended that the school board approve the contract with eTherapies Intermediate Incorporated for the 24-25 school year as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments from board members? Mr. Rockwell.
Just a quick one. I'm looking at this action and the next one. They're both to hire speech language pathologists? Is it just we couldn't get 4 from e-therapy, so we went somewhere else to get the other one, or are they different functions?
We look for the best possible service providers to provide services for our students.
Okay, thanks.
And I believe we interview the contractors.
We interview all our speech and language pathologists, and we take the best ones that we can.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to item 3, approval of contract with Aya Healthcare Incorporated. Mr. Gillespie.
The background's similar for speech and language pathologists. School districts are required to assess students and refer for special education services in all areas related to the suspected disability to accommodate the speech needs. We want to contract with Aya Healthcare to provide telespeech services for the district with 1 speech and language pathologist. In addition, Aya Healthcare has found us for the safety of our students and staff to ensure all students receive a FAPE or free and appropriate public education as mandated in IDEA. Sierra Sands School District employs a board-certified behavior analysis. They often work with students who have developmental disabilities, brain injuries, or emotional control, or social or behavioral issues. BCBAs are also supervise our registered behavior technicians, RBTs, to ensure all students' safety and access to their curriculum. The district would also like to contract with Aya Healthcare for a full-time BCBA for the 24-25 school year, and this person will be in person. She is moving to Ridgecrest this weekend and will be available for us full-time. The cost for 1 SLP and 1 BCBA will not exceed $319,684.50 and will be funded through the SELPA budget. It's recommended the board approve the contract with Aya Healthcare for the 24-25 school year as presented.
Move the recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Delbeck. That brings us to item 8, personnel administration waiver request enabling the district to assign individuals in certificated positions without appropriate credentials.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Moore, community and staff. 8.1 is a request for the district to submit requests to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing for either a variable term waiver, provisional intern permit, or short-term staff permit. You've been provided with the list of personnel we've hired at this point requiring this. It is recommended that we approve the submission of request for these permits in order that the above-named individuals may be assigned in their designated positions.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Sill. Brings us to item 2, authorization for revisions to the classified position Administrative Secretary 2.
8.2, the current job description includes the following required qualifications. Type accurately at a speed of not less than 60 words per minute. Advances in technology, including applications such as speech-to-text, have made this requirement unnecessary. The recommended action is to have the board approve the revisions to the Administrative Secretary 2 position as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from board members?
That's pretty fast, 60 words a minute.
Only if you had Ms. Bornfleth would you be able to do that.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
So, but now you can apply. Well, no, you can't apply. Any questions from members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to general administration, 9.1, Discussion of the role of, oh, no, I'm sorry, we moved that, table that to another meeting. We'll go to 2, approval of board members and superintendent to participate in Masters of Governance training.
So this is bringing our conversation from last month back, and since that time, I believe several calendar conflicts have come up with the idea of attending in Ventura, which was our original plan. So we have provided some alternate dates, and we have lots of options here. So we can pick a set that works for everybody. We can wait later. We can mix and match if nothing is perfect, and really just wanted to open this up for discussion with the board members to see what your pleasure is.
Well, I'll say a few words. Fall is a rough time for me. We don't have very many officials anymore, and we just get hammered in fall with football and volleyball and so forth. And you know, I was going to try and work it out, but after I found out our numbers, I mean, fall is a mess for me. I would recommend, I saw that there was some, we could do it in the spring. Spring is much better for me, but that's just me, so that's all I was going to say.
Do you feel like that they're looking at the fall dates, there weren't any that really would work for you? Just
I pretty much work almost every Friday and Saturday in the month of September and
Okay.
October.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy. I didn't think it was going to be that bad until we had our meetings a week and a half ago.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure whether it was just Fridays or it was Fridays and
Yeah, it's
Saturdays.
both,
Yeah,
so.
okay. Any other comments along that line? Mike?
And I recommended, because during the conversation last meeting, we were talking about who might, since it is an election year, who might or might not be on the board. Kind of wanted to wait, and that kind of answered that. So my opinion is, I changed my schedule. I don't think there's going to be ever a perfect schedule. I mean, this is going to be like wrangling cats when we've got 6 people with schedules. So I don't know if we're ever going to get there, which kind of defeats the purpose. My thought was I hate to procrastinate and would rather get it over with sooner than later. But I mean, it's a big commitment on everybody because we're giving up, I think, 5 weekends to attend this. I know that half of us have already been to it, but I mean, our goal was to attend this as a group, and I don't know if we're going to ever have that opportunity on schedules, so that's my only concern.
Any other comments or?
I agree.
Mary, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just agree.
Yeah. So I guess my take is I do believe that it's important we try and do it together. I would like to do it sooner rather than later, but I do also believe that as a team, half of us have been and half of us haven't. And for us to proceed, we really need to make sure we at least have the participation of those that haven't, than as much with those that have. So I think it's reasonable to look at the spring if that means we have a probability of getting stronger or full participation. What I think maybe we ought to do is maybe do a little bit of surveying with those potential spring dates over the next couple of weeks, send out a couple of participation polls, see who could make which dates, and then maybe we can, because I know the way the program works, we don't have to always go to the same location. So we can pick one from one sequence and one from another, but find dates that can work on, and that we can commit to this far out, so we get the best participation. And then the other thing is we can also do, I know it's may cost a little more, but if we are concerned that we aren't going to get full participation on all for the full event, we could also potentially, and I think it's best if we go together. I think that gets the most efficient use of our time and the best team building opportunities. But if one can't go on a specific time, they could take that same segment another time. Or we may go a session or two, and the board as a group says, you know what, I think we've got this. We really don't want to continue on the others. We can make that decision as well. So I think maybe some kind of a survey about who's interested, what dates to start with, can get us the best bang for the buck in the end. And again, I agree, it'd be nice to move forward straight ahead, but I think it sounds like that we won't get as much out of it as we need to if we just pushed.
And my concern, some of these, you were talking San Diego, I mean, just the amount of additional time to
Yeah.
get to some of these places creates an additional burden.
Sure.
Like I said, it's
I think there were several that are within 3 hours, right? Yeah.
Is that under 3 hours?
And maybe we want to exclude the ones that are beyond that in the survey.
I do know that in the spring, it's kind of interesting. We don't have any officiating on Fridays and Saturdays in the spring, so it's kind of nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's always usually on Tuesdays or Thursdays or something. Yeah. But
So is everyone okay if we do the survey, individual courses at a time, seeing what dates can work and hold them? Does that work for everyone?
So, yeah, I would say, okay, I'll be the jerk in the room. This is kind of frustrating for me because, you know, a month ago, we sat around and we said, yeah, this would be good. And, you know, sounds like Mike adjusted his schedule and did some changes to what he was gonna do, you know, to make sure he was gonna be available. I think, you know, we get elected to this position and it's an important position and it needs to take some priority in our lives. And we need to, you know, sign up and do these things. We need to go to these, you know, these MIG sessions. We need to go to CSBA. There's a lot of significant bang for the buck opportunities that we have, and we need to commit to doing these things. You know, if we go and decide to change these things to be in the spring, and we have people sit up here and say, oh, you know, I gotta do this or I gotta do that, so, you know, that's not really gonna work for me. You know, this is not the way we can get things done. So I find it frustrating. I find it frustrating also because, you know, this is extremely quality education that will help us do this job, you know, better than we are doing today. And I was kind of excited about this Ventura schedule because we get to get on it pretty much right away and get the most bang for the buck. Now we're saying, okay, well, great education, but we'll push it down 6 months and we'll get 6 months less value out of it. I'm just a little frustrated with where this is going, and I felt like I needed to say it. But if everybody else is good with polling the room and coming up with new dates and doing new things, and therefore Mike can go do some different you know, mashing around of his schedule, then, you know, so be it.
well, the only thing I'll say is I understand that the importance of doing it as a team, and that's why I just wanted to tell you what happened to my schedule, because I would rather do it as a team and benefit than to do it as 3 here and 2 there or whatever. But it's just my point.
Yeah, I think we have to do it as a team. I think it's probably half the value if we don't.
Okay, I don't know that we need to take a specific vote. I think we've got a consensus of where we are and what we need to try and do, and we'll move this for a later date for a decision once we have some more information.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Or if not, we will move to item 3, agreement with the City of Ridgecrest for on-site police services for the 24-25 school year. Ms. Self?
Thank you. Since 1995, the district and the city of Ridgecrest have partnered to maintain one full-time school resource officer. The key element in this partnership is that the district and the city share the total expenses related to this assignment. Our school resource officers are vital to our district. They work closely with our administrators, providing law enforcement and proactive measures. They also provide a community partnership that's really important. It is recommended that the board approve the agreement with the City of Ridgecrest to provide on-site police services for the 2024-25 school year as presented.
Move to recommend action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Have any questions or comments from board members? Questions and comments from members of the public?
I just,
Kurt?
yeah, I just have one comment. This program is phenomenal, and I'm thrilled we do it, and I hope we keep doing it. It's just great, the kind of relationships the officers build with the students, and the students learn that cops are okay. You know, I went out to the city, what do they call it, city lights or city nights or whatever, Saturday night, and, you know, the guys were running around with their cowboy hats and, you know, having a blast with the community, and, you know, the whole effort that they're putting into not only at the schools, but, you know, out into the community. I think it's phenomenal. So I'm every year I'm always very supportive of this. I think it's good stuff.
And I'll jump on that same bandwagon. Obviously, you know my thoughts on it. This has been an ongoing program that we've had. We see these other areas where they've talked about defund the police, and they've removed the SROs out of the school districts and off the campuses, and now they're kicking themselves and trying to bring them back in because of all the problems that they've encountered as a result of not having. So it's been a wonderful part of our community, the relationship that we've had between the school district and our local law enforcement. I just hope we continue it.
We're very lucky.
I would just like to comment that similarly that in so many of these situations, it's really about the relationships we build. You know, I talked earlier about it with the Capturing Kids' Hearts and the Perna presentation about building those relationships. And, you know, you can have rules and you can have regulations, but if you first develop some relationships to get to what you need to get to, it goes so much further. And I agree, it's been a long-term positive relationship and benefits our community well, so it's a good thing to have. Any other questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 4, gifts to the district. Mr. Rockwell.
The following gifts were received. Walmart made a donation of school supplies with a total dollar value of $1,390 to be used at various school sites. Dr. April Moore made a cash donation of $2,000 to start the Sierra Sands Unified School District Portrait of a Graduate Student Scholarship Fund. JT4 made a donation of backpacks with a total dollar value of $2,500. And Baskin-Robbins donated ice cream for back-to-school ice cream socials with a total dollar value of, and is this right? $13,925.10. That's a lot of ice cream, and I didn't get any. So,
That would add another $1,000 bucks.
Yeah, could be. Donations provide support to the district and have a positive financial impact. I move we accept the gifts as described and send appropriate letters of appreciation.
It's a good tax write-off.
Did I hear a second there?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Questions or comments, members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to item 5, approval of agreement with Kern County Superintendent of Schools for IT support services.
Thank you, President Ferris. This is the agreement for the remainder of the school year for the Director of Technology support that we are getting from Kern County Superintendent of Schools. This is while we are still seeking a full-time position in the district, and we have varied our approach to what that position may look like, but in the meanwhile, 2 days a week and with a variety of team members supporting both on-site and remotely, we have been supplementing our services with the county office, and that has been very helpful. So we recommend that we approve this contract, which is only billed upon services rendered. So should we fill those positions, it would immediately, or there would be some sort of overlap, but it would almost immediately cease. And so this is not to exceed $99,000 contract.
Move the recommended action.
Moved and seconded. Are there any questions comments from board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Brings us to construction administration. 10.1, report to the board construction activities and issues. Mr. Moore.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Moore, faculty, and members of the community. I'm Jeff Moore, Facilities Director in the district, and here are some construction updates. Las Flores needed a modular building to provide some extra space needed as we move things around this year to best accommodate the elementary school student body in the district. And through record heat, the construction continued forward. Now they have a great classroom right next to their playground. This was a picture from Monday, and it blends in right with the buildings right next to it. This is a picture from yesterday. The difference is the rails finally got galvanized, and we have a completed modular setup there for Principal Tate and her student body. Fowler Elementary also needed TK classrooms, and the temperature was just as hot up on West Upjohn as it was on Las Flores. And the finished product turned out terrific. They look so great there. The real test was occupancy, and we're in and we're having classes, and the kiddos are settled in. Very proud of the product. Fowler also had a fence addition to provide safety and security for the children we serve. You can see the demo there that had to take place to start with, and the fence turned out beautifully. We're really proud of it and had so many comments from faculty and from parents. Looking at Richmond, the timeframes for our power haven't changed, but nobody is sitting around. The infrastructure for the canopy awnings is in place. See those big core circles on the sidewalk next to there? Each of them have an 8 heavy-duty bolt assembly for the supports for the classroom overhang. And the infrastructure for the concrete walkways are laid, and they're almost ready to pour. Speaking of infrastructure, the top right picture shows the bicycle cage in front of the school for the students' bikes, and the heavy-duty posts that extend from the bike cage around the front of the uprights for their ornamental and functional fence that will go in soon as well. It'll be something similar to what we saw at Fowler as it goes around there. Last month, I reviewed the many summer projects that our maintenance and operations team performed over the weeks that the students were on break. Churchill said, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few," and so I want to go on record that Director Shane and his M&O team performed some exploits behind the scenes. They were the duck that went across the water. They looked calm, but their feet were moving. They did some amazing things this summer. Thank you, President Ferris, board members, Principal Dr. Moore. Who wrote that? Faculty and community, for the opportunity to update you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members on the president? Thank you so much. Brings us to business administration. Item 12, temporary adjustments. I'm sorry. Get my act together here. Nothing else under business administration, so we will now temporarily adjourn the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to conduct the meeting of the Indian Kern Schools Financing Authority Board of Directors meeting. As I call that to order, the only item on the agenda are the minutes, so they will stand as presented unless they are challenged. Hearing none, we will accept that and then adjourn the meeting of the Indian Kern Schools Financing Authority Board of Directors meeting and reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to entertain the consent calendar. The consent calendar has been moved and seconded in its entirety. Any questions or comments on any of those items? Hearing none, any questions or comments from the public? Then I will call for the vote. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? It is unanimous. And that brings us to Future agenda items, are there any future agenda, calls for future agenda items? If not, we will move to adjourn it. The next meeting of the Board of Education will be September 19th in these chambers. Thank you so much for attending this evening.